I remember the day it all began like it was etched in glass. Sharp, clear, and impossible to ignore. It was a crisp autumn morning in our quiet suburban home, the kind where the leaves danced like fireflies in the breeze, and the world felt deceptively perfect. I, Alexander Thorne, had built my life on precision, a successful architect by day, designing skyscrapers that pierced the heavens, and a devoted husband by night. My wife, Elena, was the picture of elegance, long raven hair, a smile that could light up a room, but lately, that smile seemed rehearsed. That morning, as I sipped my coffee at the kitchen island, Elena rushed in, her heels clicking like urgent Morse code on the marble floor. "Darling, I have that charity gala tonight," she said, her voice a melody laced with haste. "You know, the one for the orphanage? I'll be late, don't wait up." I nodded, setting down my mug with a deliberate clink. "Of course, love. Just remember to text me when you get there safely." My words were calm, but inside, a flicker of doubt stirred. It was the third gala this month, each one stretching longer into the night. I watched her grab her coat, her reflection in the window revealing a quick glance at her phone, a secretive one, the screen angled away from me. As she kissed my cheek goodbye, her perfume lingering like a false promise, I felt it, the whisper in the wind, a subtle shift in the air. Little did she know, I'd already started piecing together the puzzle. That afternoon, while she was preparing, I casually checked our shared calendar app, something she'd forgotten I had access to. No gala listed. Interesting. But I didn't confront her. No, that wasn't my style. I was always one step ahead, planning my designs with foresight, and this would be no different. The game had begun, and I intended to end up BY evening. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of crimson, I decided it was time to dig deeper, subtly, of course. Elena had left hours ago, her car gliding out of the driveway like a ghost in the twilight. I poured myself a glass of scotch, the amber liquid swirling in the crystal tumbler, and settled into my study. The room was my sanctuary, walls lined with blueprints and books, a testament to my meticulous mind. I pulled out my laptop, fingers dancing over the keys with purpose. First, I accessed our joint bank account. Nothing out of the ordinary at first glance, but then I spotted it. A series of small withdrawals from ATMs in the city center, places far from any orphanage gala. Coincidences, I muttered to myself, but I knew better. Next, I checked her phone's location history through our family sharing plan. She'd turned it off recently. Clever, but not clever enough. Just then, my phone buzzed, a text from Elena. "At the event now, darling. So many inspiring stories. Miss you." I smirked, replying swiftly. "Sounds wonderful. Send a photo of the venue." Minutes ticked by, no response. The silence spoke volumes. I wasn't angry yet. No, this was intrigue, a challenge to my intellect. That night, while she was away, I rifled through her vanity drawer, gently, leaving no trace. Tucked beneath her jewelry box was a receipt for a boutique hotel, dated last week. My pulse quickened, but I remained composed. "Elena, what are you hiding?" I whispered to the empty room. I photographed it with my phone, evidence for the blueprint forming in my mind. She thought she was pulling the strings, but I was the architect here, designing her downfall one calculated step at a time. The night deepened, and so did my resolve. The next morning, I woke before dawn, my mind a chessboard where every move was deliberate. Elena had slipped into bed sometime after midnight, her movements quiet, but not quiet enough. I lay still, feigning sleep, as her breathing steadied beside me. The scent of an unfamiliar cologne clung to her, faint but unmistakable, a clue she hadn't bothered to erase. I didn't confront her. Instead, I cataloged it, another piece in the intricate structure of my plan. At breakfast, she was all charm, her laughter bright as she poured orange juice. "You're quiet today, Alex," she said, tilting her head with that practiced smile. "Everything okay?" I leaned back, meeting her gaze evenly. "Just thinking about a new project. A complex one, requires precision." My tone was light, but my eyes held hers a moment too long. She faltered, just a flicker, before recovering with a sip of coffee. "You and your buildings," she teased, but her fingers tightened around the mug. That afternoon, I took a calculated risk. I called an old friend, Marcus, a private investigator with a knack for discretion. Over lunch at a bustling downtown cafe, I slid the hotel receipt across the table. Find out who she's meeting, I said, voice low. Marcus raised an eyebrow, but nodded. You sure about this, Alex? Could be nothing. It's never nothing, I replied, my jaw tight. I wasn't the type to leap to conclusions, but I trusted my instincts. They'd built my career, and now they were dismantling the facade of my marriage. By evening, Marcus texted, got a lead. Hotel has security footage. Working on access. I pocketed my phone, standing on our balcony overlooking the city lights. Elena was out again, another event. She thought she was weaving a perfect lie, but I was already sketching the blueprint of her betrayal. Each detail a line in my design. The game was accelerating, and I was ready for the next move. The city hummed below me as I stood on the balcony, the cool night air sharpening my focus. Elena's absence was a palpable thing, like a shadow cast across the house. Her latest excuse, a networking dinner for her nonprofit, had rolled off her tongue with the ease of a seasoned performer. But I wasn't her audience. I was her architect, and the foundation of her deception was beginning to crack. I returned to my study, the scotch from last night replaced by a steaming mug of black coffee. My laptop glowed, a beacon in the dim room. Marcus had promised results, and I trusted his efficiency. While waiting, I decided to probe further into Elena's world. Her social media was a curated masterpiece. Photos of her smiling at fundraisers, captions dripping with altruism. But I wasn't looking at the surface. I scrolled through her followers, cross-referencing names with the guest lists of her supposed events. A name caught my eye, Vincent Caldwell, a venture capitalist with a reputation for charm and questionable ethics. His comments on her posts were innocuous enough. Inspiring work, Elena, or can't wait for the next event. But their frequency raised a flag. I jotted his name down, a new variable in my equation. My phone vibrated, snapping me out of my thoughts. A message from Marcus, footage secured. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., usual spot. My pulse quickened, but I kept my composure. I wasn't chasing shadows. I was building a case, each piece a brick in the structure of truth. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, and let my mind map the possibilities. Vincent Caldwell, the hotel receipt, the cologne, the turned-off location tracking. It was a puzzle, and I was close to solving it. The next morning, I left the house early, telling Elena I had a client meeting. She barely looked up from her phone, murmuring, "Have a good day, darling." Her indifference was a tell. She was too comfortable in her lies. I drove to the cafe where Marcus waited, a nondescript place tucked between skyscrapers I'd designed. He was already there, nursing an espresso, a flash drive on the table like a loaded gun. "Alex," he greeted, sliding the drive toward me. "You're not gonna like this." I plugged it into my laptop, my expression neutral. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Elena, in a sleek black dress, entering the boutique hotel from the receipt. A man followed, tall, broad-shouldered, with the polished arrogance of Vincent Caldwell. They didn't touch, but their proximity screamed familiarity. The timestamp matched her last gala. I paused the video, my jaw tight. "Anything else?" I asked, voice steady. Marcus hesitated. Staff recognized her. Said she's been there before, same guy. They book a suite under his name. I nodded, pocketing the drive. "Keep digging. I want everything. Texts, emails, anything you can get legally." Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. He knew me well enough to understand I wasn't unraveling. I was strategizing. Back home, Elena was in the kitchen, humming as she chopped vegetables for dinner. The domesticity was almost convincing. "You're back early," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "Good meeting?" "Very productive," I replied, leaning against the counter, watching her closely. "You know, I was thinking we should plan a weekend away. Just us. Somewhere quiet." Her knife paused mid-chop, a flicker of unease crossing her face. "Oh, that sounds lovely, but my schedule's so packed. Maybe next month." I smiled, letting her think she'd dodged the suggestion. "Sure, love. Whenever you're free." But my mind was elsewhere, calculating. She was slipping, her lies growing sloppier, and I was ready to exploit every misstep. That evening, I took a different approach. I knew confronting her now would only make her defensive, so I played her game better. I suggested we host a dinner party, inviting her colleagues and, casually, Vincent Caldwell. "I saw his name on your event lists," I said, feigning innocence. Seems like a good contact for your work. Her eyes widened briefly before she recovered. Vincent. He's busy, I think. But I'll ask. Her voice was too bright, like glass about to shatter. I nodded, hiding my satisfaction. The invitation was a trap. She'd either invite him, exposing their connection, or avoid it, confirming my suspicions. Either way, I'd learned something. Over the next few days, I kept up appearances, my architect's precision guiding every interaction. I complimented her outfits, laughed at her stories, all while cataloging her behavior. She was nervous now, checking her phone more often, her smile strained. I installed a discreet tracking app on our shared tablet, one she used for work. It logged her emails and texts, syncing to my private server. I wasn't proud of the invasion, but Elena had rewritten the rules of our marriage, and I was playing to win. Late one night, as she slept, I checked the tablet's logs. A text from Vincent, "Miss you at the usual place." Thursday? Her reply, "Can't wait." My blood ran cold, but my mind stayed sharp. Thursday was tomorrow, and I'd be ready. I contacted Marcus, asking him to tail her discreetly. I also booked a table at a restaurant near the hotel, one with a clear view of the entrance. If she was meeting Vincent, I'd see it myself. Thursday arrived, and Elena announced another last-minute meeting. I kissed her goodbye, my lips barely brushing her cheek. "Have fun," I said, my tone light, but my eyes cold. She didn't notice, too wrapped up in her own deception. I spent the day finalizing a project pitch, my work a grounding force amid the chaos. By evening, I was at the restaurant, positioned by the window, a glass of wine untouched before me. Marcus texted, "She's at the hotel. Caldwell's car just pulled up." I watched as Elena stepped out of a cab, her dress shimmering under the streetlights. Vincent emerged moments later, his hand grazing her back as they entered the hotel. My grip tightened on the glass, but I didn't break. This wasn't about emotion, it was about evidence. I snapped a photo with my phone, the timestamp a silent ally. Back home, I waited. Elena returned after midnight, her face flushed with what she thought was triumph. "Long meeting," she sighed, kicking off her heels. "I'm exhausted." "I bet," I said, my voice soft but laced with steel. She didn't catch the edge, collapsing onto the couch with a yawn. I sat across from her, my mind already sketching the next phase. She thought she was untouchable, but I was building a structure she couldn't escape, one that would expose her lies and leave her with nothing. The dinner party was set for Saturday, and I had a surprise in store, one that would shift the game decisively in my favor. Saturday morning arrived with a deceptive calm, the kind that masks a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. I woke early, the blueprint of my plan now a towering structure in my mind, each detail meticulously placed. Elena was still asleep, her face serene, oblivious to the web tightening around her. I let her sleep, knowing today would be a turning point. The dinner party I'd proposed was no mere social event. It was a chessboard, and I was positioning my pieces for checkmate. I spent the morning preparing, my architect's precision guiding every move. I called the caterer, confirmed the menu, and rearranged the dining room to ensure every guest would be visible from my seat at the head of the table. Elena had reluctantly agreed to invite Vincent Caldwell, claiming he'd confirmed at the last minute. "He's so busy," she'd said, her voice tight. "It's a miracle he can make it." I'd smiled, nodding, but inside, I was calculating angles, anticipating her next lie. By noon, I was in my study, reviewing Marcus's latest report. He'd intercepted a few more texts between Elena and Vincent, their tone too intimate for mere colleagues. One message from her read, "Saturday might be tricky. Alex is acting strange." Vincent's reply, "Don't worry, darling. We'll play it cool." Darling. The word burned, but I channeled the heat into focus. Marcus had also found a pattern. Vincent's company had donated heavily to Elena's nonprofit, suspiciously timed with her events. It wasn't proof of infidelity, but it was a crack in her facade, one-eyed widened tonight. Elena emerged around 1, her hair swept up, already dressed in a navy dress that screamed sophistication. "You're really going all out for this," she said, eyeing the dining room setup. "It's just a few friends. It's a special occasion." I replied, my tone warm but my eyes sharp. "I want it to be perfect." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I could see her mind working, trying to gauge my intentions. She was good, but I was better, always one step ahead. The guests arrived at 6, Elena's colleagues, a few of my clients for balance, and Vincent Caldwell, who strode in with the confidence of a man who thought he owned the room. I greeted him with a firm handshake, my grip just tight enough to make him pause. "Vincent, glad you could make it," I said, my smile ablaze. "Elena speaks so highly of you." He chuckled, his eyes flicking to her. "She's too kind. Her work's the real star." Elena laughed, a little too loudly, and I noted the way her hand brushed his arm as she passed him a drink. Subtle, but not invisible. I played the perfect host, steering conversations, ensuring the wine flowed, but my focus never wavered. Every glance, every gesture between them was a line in my blueprint. Dinner was served at 7, the table a masterpiece of crystal and candlelight. I'd seated Vincent across from Elena, close enough for their interactions to be obvious, but far enough to keep them cautious. As the first course, roasted pear salad, was served, I leaned forward, addressing the table. "I thought tonight we'd toast to partnerships," I said, raising my glass. "To those who work together, build together, and trust each other implicitly." My eyes locked on Elena's, and her smile faltered, just for a moment. "To partnerships," Vincent echoed, his voice smooth, but I caught the slight tension in his jaw. Elena clinked her glass against mine, her expression unreadable. The conversation flowed, business, charity, the usual pleasantries, but I steered it carefully, dropping subtle probes. "Vincent," I said, slicing into my steak, "your company's been so generous to Elena's nonprofit. What inspired that?" He leaned back, swirling his wine. "Oh, good causes. Elena's passion is infectious." She blushed, murmuring thanks, but I pressed further. "Must take a lot of late-night meetings to coordinate those donations," I said, my tone casual. "She's been out so often lately." Elena coughed, reaching for her water. "It's just the season, Alex. Lots of events." Vincent nodded, too quickly. "Exactly. Busy time of year." I smiled, letting the moment pass, but I'd planted a seed. The other guests, oblivious, moved on to dessert, but I saw the way Elena's fingers tightened around her fork. After dinner, as coffee was served in the living room, I executed the next phase. I'd prepared a slideshow for the guests, ostensibly to showcase my latest architectural project, a community center funded partly by Elena's nonprofit. But I'd embedded a surprise. As the projector hummed to life, I clicked through slides of blueprints, earning polite applause. Then came the final slide, a photo from the nonprofit's last gala, one Marcus had sourced from a photographer's archive. It showed Elena and Vincent, standing too close, his hand on her lower back, her smile radiant. The timestamp didn't match her story. "Oops," I said, feigning surprise. "Must have grabbed the wrong photo. That's from your last event, right, Elena?" The room went quiet. Her face paled, her eyes darting to Vincent, who shifted uncomfortably. "Yes," she said, her voice tight. "Just a fundraiser." "Beautiful moment," I said, clicking off the projector. "Really captures the spirit of your work." The guests murmured agreement, unaware of the tension, but I saw the panic in Elena's eyes. Vincent excused himself to take a call, and I let him go, knowing I'd rattled them both. As the evening wound down, Elena played her part, laughing and mingling, but her glances at me were wary now. She knew I was onto something, but not how much. I kept my demeanor warm, even affectionate, kissing her cheek as guests left. "Great night," I whispered. "You were perfect." She smiled, but it was brittle, like ice about to crack. Once the house was empty, she turned to me, her voice low. "What was that slide about, Alex?" Trying to embarrass me. I tilted my head, all innocence. "Embarrass you? I thought it was a nice photo. You two looked close." Her lips parted, but no words came. She muttered something about cleaning up and retreated to the kitchen. I didn't follow. Instead, I texted Marcus. "They're rattled. Keep watching Vincent. I need more." That night, as she slept, I sat in my study, the photo from the slideshow glowing on my laptop. It wasn't enough to confront her yet. I needed irrefutable proof, something that would strip away her defenses. I was building a case, not just for myself, but for the moment I'd expose her, when she'd realize she'd underestimated me. The dinner party had been a success, not for its charm, but for its precision. I'd drawn first blood, and the game was tilting in my favor. Thursday's hotel meeting was still fresh in my mind, and I knew the next one was coming. I'd be there, unseen, ready to tighten the noose. Elena thought she was playing me, but I was the architect, and her world was about to crumble. The days following the dinner party were a study in tension, the air in our home thick with unspoken questions. Elena moved through our routines with a forced ease, her laughter a little too bright, her touches a little too deliberate. I played along, my architect's mind mapping her every gesture, her every word, as I waited for the next piece of my plan to fall into place. I was no longer just reacting. I was orchestrating, each step designed to expose her without tipping my hand. Monday morning, I sat at the kitchen island, sketching a new project on my tablet, when Elena breezed in, her phone glued to her ear. "Yes, Thursday works perfectly," she said, her voice low, then caught my eye and switched to a louder, professional tone. "For the board meeting, of course. I'll send the agenda." She hung up, flashing me a smile. "Work never stops," she sighed, grabbing her coffee. "Sounds intense," I said, my tone neutral but my gaze sharp. "Another late night?" She shrugged, avoiding my eyes. "Probably. You know how it is." I nodded, letting her think I was satisfied, but my mind was already racing. Thursday, the same day as her last hotel rendezvous with Vincent. I texted Marcus from my study. "She's planning something for Thursday. Hotel again? Get eyes on it." Marcus replied within minutes. "On it. I've got a contact at the hotel now. We'll confirm." I leaned back. The hum of my laptop fanned the only sound in the room. The evidence was mounting. Texts, footage, the dinner party photo. But I needed something undeniable, something that would leave Elena no room to twist her way out. I wasn't just building a case. I was constructing a trap, and Thursday would be its cornerstone. That afternoon, I took a calculated risk. I knew Elena's nonprofit had an upcoming fundraiser, one she'd been planning for weeks. I called her assistant, Claire, under the pretense of wanting to surprise Elena with a donation. Claire was chatty, eager to help. "Oh, Mr. Thorne, that's so sweet. Elena's been so stressed with all the planning. She's been meeting with sponsors nonstop." "Sponsors like Vincent Caldwell?" I asked, keeping my voice light. Claire hesitated, then laughed. "Well, yeah, he's been a big supporter. Always at her events." Her tone was innocent, but the confirmation was another brick in my structure. I thanked her, promising to follow up, and hung up, my mind already plotting the next move. By Wednesday, Marcus had delivered. His contact at the hotel confirmed a reservation under Vincent's name for Thursday evening, same suite as before. Better yet, Marcus had hacked into the hotel's guest Wi-Fi logs. Legally, he assured me, and found Elena's phone connecting to the network during her last gala. It was circumstantial, but it was enough to justify my next step. I decided to be there, not just through Marcus's lens, but in person, hidden in plain sight. Thursday morning, I told Elena I'd be working late at the office, a plausible excuse given my deadlines. She nodded, barely looking up from her laptop. "Don't overdo it, Alex," she said, her voice dripping with mock concern. I smiled, kissing her forehead. "You too, love. Have a good meeting." The irony wasn't lost on me. She thought she was the one playing a role, but I was directing the scene. That evening, I stationed myself at a bar across from the hotel, a dimly lit place with a clear view of the entrance. I wore a dark jacket and glasses, blending into the crowd of after-work drinkers. Marcus was nearby, parked in an unmarked van with a camera. At 7:32 p.m., Elena's cab pulled up. She stepped out, her emerald dress catching the streetlights, and Vincent followed moments later, his hand brushing her elbow as they entered. My phone buzzed with Marcus's text. "Got them on video. Clear shot." I sipped my soda water, my pulse steady. I wasn't here for a confrontation. Not yet. I was gathering the final pieces, the keystone that would lock my plan in place. Marcus sent a live feed to my phone, the grainy image showing Elena and Vincent in the hotel lobby, laughing as they headed to the elevator. I saved the footage, my mind already sketching the next phase. Back home, I waited until Elena returned, her hair slightly mussed, her smile too bright. "Long day," she said, collapsing onto the couch. "These meetings are exhausting." "I bet," I replied, pouring her a glass of wine. "Tell me about it." I sat across from her, my expression attentive but my eyes cold. She rambled about agendas and sponsors, her words a flimsy tapestry of lies. I nodded, encouraging her, letting her dig deeper into her own deception. Every word she spoke was another nail in the coffin I was building. The next day, I met Marcus at his office, a cramped space cluttered with monitors and coffee cups. He played the full footage, Elena and Vincent entering the suite, staying for 2 hours, leaving separately, but with that same conspiratorial closeness. It's not ironclad, Marcus said, leaning back. No audio, no clear proof of, but it's damning. It's enough, I said, my voice low. For now. I handed him a USB drive. Copy it here. And keep monitoring their texts. I want to know their next move. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You're playing a long game, Alex. Most guys would have blown this up by now. I smiled, thin and sharp. Most guys don't build skyscrapers. Patience is my foundation. He nodded, understanding. I left his office with the drive, my mind already turning to the next phase. Elena thought she was untouchable, her lies a perfect facade, but I was dismantling it brick by brick. That evening, I upped the ante. I suggested we renew our vows, a romantic gesture to reconnect. Elena's eyes widened, her smile faltering. Oh, Alex, that's sweet, but isn't it a bit soon? We're not even at a milestone. Every day with you feels like a milestone, I said, my tone warm but my gaze unwavering. She laughed, but it was nervous, her fingers twisting her wedding ring. I let the moment hang, then changed the subject, planting another seed of doubt. She was starting to unravel, her confidence fraying at the edges. By Saturday, Marcus had more, a text from Vincent suggesting they lay low for a while, followed by Elena's reply. He's suspicious. We need to be careful. I read it in my study, the words fueling my resolve. Careful? She had no idea how far ahead I was. I was no longer just her husband. I was her judge, her jury, and soon, her executioner. Not with violence, but with a truth so sharp it would cut deeper than any blade. The trap was set, and the next move would bring her to her knees. The days after my vow renewal suggestion were a masterclass in Elena's unraveling. She was still playing her part. Doting wife, tireless charity worker, but the cracks in her performance were widening. Her smiles were tighter, her glances at me laced with suspicion. I, Alexander Thorne, remained the calm center of the storm, my architect's precision guiding every step. I didn't need to raise my voice or accuse her outright. I was building a structure of truth that would collapse her world without a single shout. Sunday evening, I found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone, her brow furrowed. Everything okay, love? I asked, leaning against the doorway, my tone warm but my eyes sharp. She startled, locking her phone quickly. Just work stress, she said, forcing a smile. You know, the fundraiser's coming up. I nodded, sitting beside her, close enough to feel her tense. You've been working so hard. Maybe Vincent can take some of the load off. He seems invested. The word hung between us, heavy with intent. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching, but I kept my expression neutral, a blank blueprint. He's just a donor, she said, too quickly. A generous one. Of course, I replied, patting her hand. I trust you. The lie was hers, but the irony was mine. I left her there, her fingers fidgeting, and retreated to my study. Marcus had sent a new batch of intercepted texts, Elena urging Vincent to be discreet, him reassuring her they were untouchable. Untouchable. The word fueled my resolve, sharpening the edges of my plan. Monday, I escalated. I knew the fundraiser was Friday, a grand event at a downtown ballroom. Elena had been planning it for weeks, but I suspected it was another cover for her rendezvous. I called Claire again, this time asking for the guest list to surprise Elena with a supportive turnout. Claire emailed it within hours, and there was Vincent's name, RSVP'd as a VIP. I also noticed a discrepancy. The venue's booking was for a smaller room than Elena had described, and the budget didn't match her overtime excuses. I filed it away, another brick in my structure. Tuesday, I visited the ballroom under the guise of a client meeting nearby. The manager, a chatty woman, confirmed the event details but mentioned something curious. Mrs. Thorne's been here a lot, but mostly with that tall gentleman, Mr. Caldwell. They were checking the suite upstairs, not the ballroom. I thanked her, my smile tight, and left with another piece of the puzzle. The suite. Always the suite. That night, I played my next card. Over dinner, I casually mentioned I'd be attending the fundraiser. I want to support your work, I said, slicing my chicken with precision. Maybe I'll even bid on something at the auction. Elena's fork froze midair. You don't have to, Alex. It'll be boring for you. Lots of schmoozing. I insist, I said, my voice warm but firm. I want to see you shine. Her smile was brittle, and I knew I'd cornered her. She couldn't refuse without raising suspicion, but my presence would force her to adjust her plans with Vincent. Check. Wednesday, Marcus delivered the final blow. He'd accessed Vincent's email, legally, through a contact at his firm, and found a thread with Elena. They'd planned to slip away during the fundraiser to the hotel suite, using the event as cover. The emails were careful, but the intent was clear. Meet me at 9. We'll have the place to ourselves. My blood ran cold, but my mind stayed sharp. I had them now, and Friday would be their undoing. Thursday, I prepared meticulously. I rented a discreet car, one Elena wouldn't recognize, and parked it near the ballroom. I coordinated with Marcus to have a camera ready, hidden in the crowd. I also prepared a package, copies of the texts, emails, hotel footage, and photos, all time-stamped, all undeniable. I didn't plan to confront her at the event. That would be too messy. No, my revenge would be surgical, delivered when she least expected it. Friday arrived, and Elena was a whirlwind of nervous energy, dressing in a crimson gown that screamed confidence she didn't feel. You sure you want to come? She asked, adjusting her earrings, her voice tight. Wouldn't miss it, I said, adjusting my tie in the mirror. Let's make it a night to remember. She laughed, but it was hollow, and I saw the fear in her eyes. She knew I was up to something, but she couldn't guess how far I'd gone. The ballroom was a glittering spectacle, chandeliers casting golden light over tuxedos and gowns. I moved through the crowd, shaking hands, my smile a perfect mask. Elena was in her element, charming donors, her laughter ringing out. But I saw the way her eyes darted to Vincent, who stood by the bar, sipping champagne, his gaze lingering on her. I stayed close, my presence a silent pressure, forcing them to play their parts carefully. At 8:45, I noticed Elena slip away, murmuring about checking the auction setup. Vincent followed minutes later, heading toward the elevators. I texted Marcus, they're moving. Sweet. Now. He replied, cameras ready. I'm in position. I stayed in the ballroom, engaging a colleague in conversation, my eyes on the clock. I didn't need to follow them. Marcus's footage would be enough. By 10, Elena returned, her hair slightly mussed, her smile forced. Vincent reappeared shortly after, adjusting his cufflinks. I approached her, glass in hand. Everything okay with the auction? I asked, my tone light. She nodded, too quickly. All set. Big night. I smiled, letting her think she'd dodged scrutiny. The rest of the evening, I played the proud husband, even bidding on a painting to keep up appearances. But inside, I was finalizing the blueprint. The package was in my car, ready for delivery. Saturday, I let Elena sleep in, her exhaustion a testament to her double life. I spent the morning in my study, finalizing my plan. The package now included a letter, typed and unsigned, detailing her affair with clinical precision, dates, times, locations, all backed by evidence. But I wasn't sending it to her, not yet. I had a different target. I drove to Vincent's office, a sleek glass tower I'd once admired. I left the package with his receptionist, addressed to his wife, Sophia, a woman I'd met once at a charity event. She was kind, unaware of her husband's betrayal. The package would shatter her world, but it would also shatter Vincent's. Elena would feel the fallout without me ever raising a hand. Back home, I waited. Elena sensed nothing, planning another meeting for Tuesday. I smiled, kissed her, and played the devoted husband, knowing her world was about to implode. Tuesday morning, I woke to chaos. Elena's phone was buzzing incessantly, her face pale as she read the messages. What's wrong? I asked, my voice all concern. It's Vincent, she stammered. His wife found out. She's leaving him. He's furious, saying someone sent her proof. Her eyes met mine, searching, but I kept my expression soft, puzzled. Proof? I asked, tilting my head. Of what? She didn't answer, her hands trembling as she typed a reply. I poured her coffee, my heart steady. Sophia had received the package, and the fallout was swift. By noon, Vincent's firm announced his sudden leave, his reputation in tatters. Elena's nonprofit, tied to his donations, faced scrutiny, her carefully curated image crumbling. That evening, as she sat in stunned silence, I placed a folder on the table. copies of the same evidence I'd sent Sophia. You should know, I said quietly. I've known for months. Her eyes widened, tears spilling, but I felt no pity. Alex, I can explain. No need. I interrupted, my voice calm but cold. You're free to go. I've already filed for divorce. I stood, leaving her with the folder, her lies exposed not by violence, but by truth. The unexpected twist? I'd also sent a copy to her nonprofit's board. By morning, she was suspended, her career in ruins. I walked away, my skyscrapers still standing, my heart intact. Elena had underestimated me, and now she was alone, her world a rubble of her own making.